1, 2, 3, 4.
Mrs. and a mic, you don't need much more.
4 Mrs.
Come on.
4 Mrs.
Come on.
5, 6, 7, 8.
It's your favorite podcast, so save the date.
4 Mrs.
Come on.
4 Mrs.
Come on. 4 Mrs. and a mic. Come on. 4 Mrs. and a mic. Come on.
Hi, guys. Welcome to the 4 Mrs. and the Mike podcast. This is CJ.
To the left is CC.
It's L.
And Bree.
Hi.
Today we are talking love languages. So what is your love language? I'll give everybody a brief little description about love languages and how they relate to what we're talking about today. And then I think we'll just go through and talk about what each of our love languages are. So there are 5 of them. We're all kind of relating this back to a book by Gary Chapman, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Not Gary Coleman. Because I definitely typed that into the search bar once and did not get the right result.
Gary Chapman. About 5 love languages, and they are, the first one is words of affirmation. So this is saying I love you, complimenting or praising your partner.
That's a delicious taco.
Quality time spent together even if you're doing nothing.
Eating tacos together.
Receiving gifts, number 3, tokens of appreciation or affection.
Here, I got you this taco.
Acts of service, doing something for the other person.
Here, I made you this taco.
Last but not least, physical touch, hand holding, kissing, or sex.
I would like to cuddle you like a taco.
Example.
It makes sense to me like that.
Thanks, Bree.
It does make sense. That was really cute. So anyway, do you guys want to go through and say, we all kind of took the brief quiz to see where we fell and what love language speaks to us best? Who wants to go first?
So I'll start. So my husband and I took the love language quiz and we read the book before we got married. I believe it was recommended to us, and it was very helpful because it opened my eyes, one, to the fact that there are different ways people like to be loved, but then to the fact that my husband and I have different ways in which we like to be shown love. So it helps me to better understand like why he's so touchy-feely, and then how I could return that so that he was receiving love the way he liked to be loved. But my love language, after I took the quiz, my primary love language is quality time, which makes sense because I like to kick it. I like to hang out with my husband. I'm perfectly fine if we're at home together. I'm perfectly fine if we go out together. As long as we are hanging out together, then I'm happy. So I think I knew before even taking the quiz that quality time would be my top love language.
It's interesting that at one point you probably would have identified the biggest issue in your marriage was that your husband was overextending himself outside of the home, like in the community and with work and all that stuff like that. So that's why I think, that was a big thing for you because you weren't getting your quality time.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense. Okay, well, I'll go first. Mine's easy. I took the quiz. Actually, I took 4 quizzes now. And so it's official and confirmed that my love language is receiving gifts. Now, I know there's a shock and awe that just came over all of America and Canada, but that is what it came back as. And the second thing was words of affirmation, which I think has a lot to do with how I was raised. My dad was really like mushy, like word wise, like he would call you pet names and that kind of thing. He's really passionate in good ways and bad ways. So I think that's where that second one came from. I don't know where the first one came from. My mama.
I was getting ready to say, do you need to get it?
And then I got quality time, acts of service, and last was physical touch. The last one was a little bit interesting to me because I definitely enjoy like hand holding, PDA, intimate moments and stuff like that. So I'm not really sure why. Well, I said it's last, but it tied with acts of service. So.
So, I'm just jumping in there. I thought about it because I didn't say my other 4, but it was acts of service, physical touch, words of affirmation, and then last was receiving gifts. But I'm wondering, had I taken this quiz when we first got married, physical touch may not have been sandwiched in the middle.
I think it would have been at the bottom.
I think it would have too. I think because my husband's act of service is physical touch, and that's obviously incorporated into our relationship, it has become more of something that I associate with showing love than previously. So
that makes sense. I can't second that because my husband hasn't taken quiz yet, but when he does, I will have him get back to you, and I'll let you know if that also happens.
Does he know that receiving gifts is your number one?
He knows. Trust me. And I think he also picks up that honestly, like words of affirmation is high up there for me because lately, in particular, he's really been trying to like tell me how he feels and how much he appreciates me and all that stuff.
Well, mine with the quiz came up as acts of service was my number one. And I knew it would be my number one. I figured that was my love language because I like little things like, I made you breakfast, which my husband does do. He'll make me breakfast and bring, do breakfast in bed or things like that. Or, go put air in my tire if my tire needs air, or go get gas if my, car is low on gas.
That's sweet.
But, something that he doesn't do is like, I'm going to clean these dishes or things like that. He hasn't learned that part yet. But, acts of service is definitely my number one. My second I was surprised about was receiving gifts. But I started to think about it, and I do like receiving like little cutesy stuff. Not necessarily like anything big or expensive, but just like thoughtful, just thoughtful little gifts, just random. And then third was quality time, which is what my husband thinks is my number one. He definitely feels that I like quality time. He's like, Elle, if you go to the kitchen, if I go to the kitchen, you're like, where are you going? What are you doing? And you have to come to the kitchen too. He's like, you love quality time. You always, want to hang out. And I'm like, that's true. That's very true. So, and in physical touch, believe it or not, I am not a touchy-feely person. I'm not a hugger. Definitely not a hugger, but my husband definitely is. I know that physical touch is his number one. He is like, yeah, and that would be surprising too to people. He's very affectionate. He always has to cuddle, and in the beginning it was kind of annoying. When we were dating, I was like, why is he always trying to hug? And but now I absolutely love it. And you have to touch, all the time. So
see, so you're like CJ in that regard.
Yeah, like it changed. Yeah,
right.
as time went on. Definitely. Yeah.
It's also interesting because I wouldn't have pegged Mr. L for like a
Yeah, nobody would.
But that's because
Nobody
that's
would.
like a side of him that I never
We don't.
Yeah.
saw. So that's interesting.
Yeah. He's definitely a cuddler. Don't let him fool you.
See, I definitely thought like his thing would be like acts of service because he will like
What he would do.
things. For, you know what I mean? So the more you know.
So mine was physical touch, which I don't know if I agree with it, but then when I told it to Mr. CC, he was like, that's absolutely 100%. He was like, I just told you were sitting too close to me the other day. He was like, you're making me a little claustrophobic. Like, push over.
I could see him saying that.
But I think it's because I think it's shifted though. Because I think with like lives right now, it's just rough to get, because I guess I thought mine would definitely be quality time because we don't have as much of that right now. So I feel like when we do have it, I just want to be like under you. And he's like, at night, like he's like, you have to be touching me when you're going to sleep. And I was like, well, maybe so, but I just didn't think that was the case. And his ended up being, it was receiving gifts. That was his.
Yeah, I can see that.
Really?
Yeah, he gets really excited when you surprise him with like little things. Like, didn't you buy him like some like kind
He
of
does, but
sports
kinda
paraphernalia or something? And,
Yeah,
like,
but when like he's so like.
I went to your house the other day and when he answered the door, I was like, I like those shoes, and he was like, thanks, my wife bought them. See, he like beams, like he really does.
I guess.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, I guess I'm a cuddle bug too. It's weird, but I don't know.
Yeah, and if you guys are interested in taking the love language quiz, we took several quizzes.
Yes.
It's probably the best one, I think.
Yeah, the one that gives you your love languages in order from top to bottom is, I think it's 5lovelanguages.com.
The number 5.
Yes, the
Love
number
languages.
5lovelanguages.com. And you take the quiz, and it will tell you which one ranks highest and which one ranks lowest.
It's important too, I think, so that you can understand what your partner needs. And it doesn't necessarily even have to be in a marriage. I mean, because when we were looking it up, I actually saw that there were like 5 love languages dealing with children, 5 love languages dealing with family. So I think it's important to understand what you need from each aspect of your life so that you can understand how you get along with people better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I think across the board, if you buy me something that I wanted, we're good.
Right.
In any relationship.
Like even amongst like my friends, like if y'all were like, "Here, Brady, we thought you might like this new scarf from Alexander McQueen," I'm gonna be like, "Oh, you guys," like it's pretty across the board, and it doesn't have to be expensive. Like how I bring you guys pastries every now and then. See, it's my gifts.
Yeah, mine definitely doesn't flow throughout, all my relationships.
It doesn't. Mine changes.
So what do you think yours is amongst like friends? Like how can friends show you that like they love you and you matter and you're important and
Because obviously we're not about to hold your hand.
Right.
Or cuddle you,
if you want me to cuddle you,
and I would be like, I need
Get
you.
off me.
You're making me claustrophobic.
you understand how Mr. CC felt.
Exactly. So because my sister is like that, she's very like, give me a hug. And I'm
Yes,
just
she
like,
is. It's so sweet.
And I'm just kind of like,
And then you turn around and do that to that man.
I
You
know.
hypocrite.
Isn't that weird?
It's just who we are.
Maybe acts of service, because that's actually what acts of service and quality time, I would think. But I really think it has to do with where you are currently, because when we first started dating, quality time wouldn't have been, I don't think, a thing.
Because y'all had a ton of it.
Because we had a ton of it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's true.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And now, if you don't get it as much, you're like, hey.
But see, I wonder if all things being equal, is quality time still as high up as you think it is, or if it's just that high up because you're not getting it.
Maybe so.
Because like you're arguing with like Mr. CC over like what it actually is, when maybe it's only that, or only feels like it's that to you because it's what you're lacking right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think mine is quality time across the board. So whether it's family,
Friends.
whether it's friends, whether it's my husband, my kids, quality time is number one across the board.
So you're saying you want to see us more? Because I mean, I'm totally down.
Yeah, if our schedules allowed, we would kick it all the time. I'd be perfectly content with that.
I do wish we could more than we do. So maybe quality time is not as low on my list in regards to friendships as I would think it was. Because I really do crave, like I've been trying to, y'all don't know this, but I've been trying to get them to come with me on a girls trip for like 2 years now. These heifers will not commit, and my feelings are getting hurt. But I think it's just me.
It's nothing
just
against
buy
you.
Something.
It's scheduled.
Oh, it'll be all better.
Yeah, just buy her something.
Oh, it's forgiven.
And you said Alexander what?
McQueen. Alexander McQueen.
Not to be confused with Lightning McQueen.
Why was that the first image that popped
That's
in
what I thought about until 2 seconds ago.
Yes.
It's because Lightning McQueen is where it's at.
That's
Yes. First thing I thought about.
There's actually a really cute Christian Dior twilly I have my eye on. Y'all can buy me. I'm just saying.
What's a twilly?
Oh, it's like a little scarf. So like I would like tie it in my hair or put it on like the handle of one of my handbags.
How much does this cost?
Like under $200. It's pure silk.
We're not buying it. just being honest.
Thank you for thinking about it for 3.2 seconds.
I was trying not to lie and think of
Go back to previous episodes.
a nice way to let you know.
Well, thank you for being honest. But anywho, so maybe I truly think across the board, the receiving gifts would be like my top, but I think the other things would shift.
Mm-hmm. So I think something else that is a love language for my husband is acts of service. And I actually had a conversation about this with another friend because she's getting married and I'm really excited for them. But she was saying that there are things that her fiance does that annoys her. So for instance, he always has to open the car door for her or, things like that. And she's like, I don't understand it. Like, why does he do it? And I told her, I say, well, maybe these things are his way of showing that he loves you.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though it's frustrating for you, think about if he stops doing these things.
Yeah.
If he stops doing these things, then it means his feelings for you are starting to change. And then that's the bigger problem in a relationship. Not him opening the door, but the fact that he doesn't care enough to open the door anymore.
Right. See, and I can also tell you, like, from the other side of that, because my husband doesn't do those things. And it's like, you know how some guys have that, like, I'm not trying to say my husband's not a gentleman, but they have that, like, gentlemanly, like, I'm going to protect you kind of thing about, like, your husband would be the guy to open doors. And when y'all are walking, he would put, like, his hand on your back to make, like, I'm here kind of thing like that. Or, like, for instance, when we were going through customs to re-enter the country, y'all's husbands went to the same customs kiosk with y'all, stood right next to y'all, made sure everything went just fine. My ass got flagged because my ticket said it was supposed to be somebody else with me, and that person went off and got his own kiosk.
Wait a minute. I didn't even know this.
To stand next to me when we were going through customs, and it drove me up the wall.
No.
And I'm like, why don't you have this gene? Why can't you want to be next to your wife like everybody else? So tell her she would miss it.
Yes, she would.
So just be grateful she's got it.
And I can relate because my husband is like that. He likes to open the door. He will call to check and make sure I made it wherever safely and check to make sure I'm, on the way home and safe and things that as an independent woman before marriage, I'm like, I can do this. I don't need you to open the door. I don't need you to walk around to the other side of the car. I know how to get out without falling.
But you know why though? It's probably because that's the way that's his love language. So he's pushing it off on you.
Right.
Because that's just the way he knows how to be.
Right. And so I've gotten to the point where I accept it. I take it and I accept it because like I said, the day he stops doing it is the day I need to worry.
When I got dropped off here today, my husband sped off before I even got to the front door. For all he knows, I'm in a ditch somewhere because a rape and murder serial killer came by and slit my throat and threw me in a diversion canal outside the Amy River somewhere. He don't know. And I'm dead and gone.
Hey, at least y'all's husbands know how to use the dishwasher.
They
wouldn't ask you how to use it.
He don't use it though. He might as well not know how.
Maybe you can just talk to him about that. Just what?
Because I have tried. And it'll get better for like 3 days. It's just not a part of him. I think.
Because mine is kind of the same way, but I'm just like, you should do this and do that. And it's gotten way
yours got it more than mine
because I've said and I've made a big deal about it.
Trust me. We were in that airport. I'm surprised we didn't get arrested.
Did you tell us Mr. Bree's love language?
No, because remember I forgot to.
What do you perceive it to
be?
Yeah, what do you think it is?
So it's not physical touch. He's not like a mushy, cuddly person. It's not that it's rare, but it's not often.
What about gifts?
He likes them, but
now physical touch could be sex as well, right? Like it could
Yeah.
be like they're a sexual
Yeah.
person, like
Yeah.
really sexual. Okay.
Yeah, and even with that, like when the mood strikes him, sure, but like outside of that, he's not one of those like let me grab you on the butt all the time kind of people.
Oh Lord, yeah, mine.
Probably. Maybe it's because I have better butts than me.
What about
But
words
just
of
wait till I get
affirmation?
my surgery. He gonna be all over my
Oh
butt.
goodness.
Anyways, I honestly think it would probably be words of affirmation if I had to be honest, or quality time. I really do think that's probably high up on his. And I think quality time might have something to do with the fact that we don't really get much like with you, Cece.
Yeah.
But I think it's up there, and we need it. So yeah.
So what do you say to couples who don't know how to mesh their two love languages?
I just can't get on the same page. Right?
Right.
I think both people have to be willing to try to understand what the other person needs.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have to try to find, like, it's going to take work. You have to either give a little bit or, I think both people just have to give a little bit. Because if it's not something, if it's not something that you understand or you get, you have to understand it. And then you just have to be willing to try.
Right.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is like don't assume that your partner's love language is the same as yours, or don't try to force them to have the same love language as yours, because more than likely they don't.
Yeah.
You just have to really understand that. Yeah.
Opposites attract, so chances are they don't have the same love language as you.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, if I married Mrs. TC, we'd both be broke.
Gifts all over.
Right.
Right.
You gonna
Now,
tell her,
don't
you
get it twisted. Because he's not a free, heavy spender.
Oh, I know. I recently
You
learned
would
that.
be getting the lightning McQueen.
I be getting lightning McQueen, not
Not at all.
So, and I think
I be getting a doily, not a twilly.
and in receiving gifts, it doesn't always mean that these are monetary gifts or that people are spending money on
Oh
these
yeah,
things.
absolutely.
So I think for Mr. Cece, it also works because we know Cece is very thoughtful. So I'm sure she comes up with gifts that are meaningful. So he's still
Right.
receiving gifts, but it's not necessarily
Something she had to spend a whole lot of money on.
right.
She may have spent a lot of time and thought on it, but it's still and honestly, as much as I joke about like wanting like this designer thing, that designer
Yeah,
thing.
you definitely about thoughtful.
I would say
Yeah.
thoughtful does go a long way with you.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
It really
Thoughtful and
does.
romantic.
Yeah, see? And that's all I want. I just want the romance.
And I think like we have to make sure that people understand that receiving gifts is not necessarily like you're a gold digger either.
Right,
Because when
right.
you read into that, it's more or less like
Yeah.
you said, it's thoughtful. It's it's you. It's
And also, I don't think you should ask anything of your spouse that you can't, give yourself either. That's one way to make sure you're not a gold digger is,
Yeah.
am I just with him because he gives me great gifts? It's got to be more than that, And the gifts are they things you could get for yourself otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's fair.
Do you think that if you guys had known each other's love languages earlier on, it would have saved some heartache or like some confusion in the relationship?
no, I think mine's pretty clear from the beginning. I mean, y'all laughing, but I'm being serious.
I think for my love language, we're still working on it because, like acts of service, like we talk about, helping with chores around the house and things like that, that's considered acts of service. And although he does a lot of other things that are acts of service that I love, we still work on that part of it. So I think it just really takes time and, effort.
I mean, like, I feel you a little bit because I love you and, like, girl power and all that stuff. But, like, your husband has literally that stuff my husband cannot do.
I mean, of course. I mean, he's
Like, I was literally
He's amazing.
in the
He's a-
bathroom and I was like, damn.
I mean, he's
pretty much just built this.
I mean, yes, I'm not complaining about my husband. I'm just saying as far as my love language,
Right.
Yeah.
he hasn't fully grasped
You know what I'm saying?
everything.
But, like, maybe to him, those are his acts of service and those are big acts of service. So he should get, like, I'm not saying he
I
should get a
gotcha.
pass. I'm saying maybe he thinks he should get a pass for, like, the
I
dishes.
gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
I gotcha.
That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying.
And that's exactly how he thinks. Yes. Yes, that's exactly how he thinks.
He's like, I built you a house.
Oh, you sound just like him. I built this
I
house.
wonder we were friends.
So yeah, I mean that's very true.
Yeah.
So it's still a balance. Like they're still finding the balance between what you want to receive and what you're willing to give.
Right, because like I said before too, you know, in the beginning of a relationship, I was like, why is he always hugging me and like, you know, just so affectionate and just like it's just weird, you know. Usually it's the other way around, you know. Usually the woman is like so affectionate, but now it's like I love it, you know, and I'm used to it. And if he stopped doing it, then there'll be a problem, you know. So.
What about you? Because I know also you weren't an affectionate lover, but that's your husband's language.
Yeah, so actually now it's to the point where if Mr. CJ leaves the house and doesn't kiss me, I'll call him and be like, how dare you leave and not give me a kiss goodbye?
Wow.
So,
okay.
yeah.
See, and I called my husband and cursed him out for speeding off without seeing if I got to the door. Like the same thing. But not really, but the same thing.
Yeah. So it's also funny though because I see a lot of my husband's personality in my son. Like my son is very like affectionate and like he has to hug you and kiss you and hold your hand, like that kind of thing. And I see a lot of my daughter's personality in me. Like,
well, your personality and your daughter.
I'm sorry, my personality and my daughter. Like, stop touching me. we can hang out together. I'll sit next to you and play with my toys, but please don't stop. Right.
Those poor boys in high school. That's all I have to say.
I don't feel sorry for them.
Of course you don't. Then again, you know what? Your husband probably doesn't feel sorry for them either. He's like,
right.
That's what touching my daughter.
Right.
That's funny. My goodness.
Do you have anything else?
No.
Did we put it down?
What's that?
Like did we hashed it out?
I think so.
I think
For the most
too.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I'm saying I think we just agree that it's probably an important discussion to have.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's a fun discussion. It really is. Learning about each other.
Same thing, so we're on the same page. I was going to say, we should encourage our listeners to take the quiz.
Yes.
Find out their love language. Talk to their partner about it.
Yes. And the good thing is you don't have to take this quiz if you're married.
Yeah.
If you're dating, you can do this. Like Cece said, if you have kids, if you want to know the love language between your friend circle, everybody can take this quiz.
Yeah. And I'd be curious to know, like, if we took this quiz, like, 10 years from now, what would change? Or if anything would change.
Well, if we're still doing this podcast, although 10 years from now, I hope it's a talk show, we will rehash and see if our love languages have changed. So the people that have been rocking with us since day one,
right?
They'll be like, oh, I remember that episode. Oh my gosh, Bree doesn't want gifts anymore? What happened?
I don't see that.
Right?
As long as we've known you, it's been
always
consistent.
I'm consistent.
So
It's always been that.
you're very consistent.
I'm really easy. People are like, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. We're not that hard. I'm really easy to please. Like, have me stuff I want, or make stuff I want, give me stuff I want. Just
as long as you get what you want.
As long as I get what I want. It's that hard. Easy enough. It's really easy. All right, guys. I think we have a question.
Yes. Our question today comes from Kenneth from New Orleans.
Hey, Kenneth.
Hi, Kenneth.
Thanks.
He says, do your husbands feel emasculated by having to split finances with you? My father taught me a man pays the bills, and whether or not the woman works, the money is his responsibility. He said, y'all's men are letting y'all wear the pants. That's what he says.
Ooh.
Oh.
I feel tried. I feel triggered. Okay. First of all,
Wow.
No. My husband wears pants too. Okay. So that's number one. No, but honestly, I don't think he feels emasculated. Like, he can't. I mean, he's my man. You know, I mean, maybe it's a different era. I don't know how old Kenneth is. Kenneth might be alright. He might be younger. But I just feel like it's a different, like maybe like a more traditional, little older mindset of like the man's supposed to be in control and the woman's supposed to be subservient and he's supposed to do this and that. And then the other thing is this. Nowadays, maybe this wasn't the case in the 30s and 40s and 50s, but nowadays it's quite possible the breadwinner is the woman.
Right.
I'm not saying that you can't be in control of her money, but why should you be just because you're the man? Like that, come with a better reason. You have a better financial mind than her. Fine. You're more disciplined than she is. Great. You're better at budgeting. Super. But just because you have a penis, nah. No, that's not going to work for me.
So I think we live in a society now that is more open and willing to celebrate the success of women and willing to acknowledge that women can hold positions equal to men. Now, don't get me wrong, we're still fighting for things like equal pay.
Mm-hmm.
But I think society is finally starting to acknowledge that women can be just as successful, which also means that in a relationship, there's a possibility that the woman may make more money than the man.
Mm-hmm.
And so in our house, that's actually never a discussion like who makes more. I think we talked about this before. Everything for us is a joint effort.
Mm-hmm.
So all the money is for the household, regardless of who makes more or who makes what. All the money is for the household, and we operate that way. So the conversation about like who's the breadwinner or who should be taking care of the family or paying the bills, that doesn't come up. We just see it as joint responsibility on us both.
I have a question for Kenneth, which obviously he can't answer because he's not here. But when you say that the man pays the bills, do you mean the man pays the bills with the household money or the man's supposed to pay the bills with his money? Because I am not going to subject myself to having to live off of just his salary. Like, that makes no sense to me. Especially, what if we were in a scenario where I'm making literally 10 times more than he is? Like, he's making 40 and I'm making 400. We supposed to live on 40? Like, that makes no sense to me.
So I think we also have to be mindful too, though, that to a certain extent, like, you like being spoiled and taken care of. To play a little bit of devil's advocate. So I don't think that what he's saying is like, I can't believe this is happening. I think it's more of the man should just provide and the man should pay your bills. And I think it's more of like that's just the man's job because, you know what I mean? Like, you can take it two different ways.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but what I'm trying to understand is, so if he's supposed to provide and pay the bills, is that literally with just his money? Or is that with my money also? And then how much say-so do I have in how we're spending our money? Because at that point, it's our money.
Yeah, I mean, what if the husband, what if the guy is horrible with money and finances, and the wife
But
is...
I don't get that from what he was saying. I think that what he's basically saying is that the man is supposed to just handle the household.
He's supposed to take care of everything.
Is that with just his money or is that just in control of our money? Because if it's just supposed to be, well, he's supposed to pay all the bills with just his money. Again, if I'm making a whole lot more money than you, why do we have to live like we only make your salary?
So here he says, my father taught me a man pays the bills whether or not the woman works. Meaning,
so I think that he's saying, I'm going to take care of the bills. You do what you want with your stuff, but this is my primary.
Right. I'm supposed to be paying the bills.
So I'm supposed to park a Rolls Royce outside of a $200,000
I think you shouldn't jump. I think you shouldn't jump so defensive.
No, but this is just what I'm saying. Because, I mean, listen, guys. Like, let's just be real. We live in a world where women can be and do anything they want. It's not unheard of or far-fetched to think that our mothers could, our daughters could be any professional person that they would set their minds to. And that's nothing short of a CEO, a neuroscientist, a banker, or whatever. With those professions come substantial salaries. And I don't know Kenneth. For all I know, Kenneth is a neuroscientist too. But let's say Kenneth is, I don't know, just is a regular guy with a regular job. There's nothing wrong with that. He can provide a great life, but a better life could be provided if he would have relinquished a little bit of this control that he seems to have just because he's a man. That's my problem.
So could he?
Go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say, I don't have a problem with a man taking care of me or taking care of the bills. The issue for me would be the control piece. Because if I'm working and you're working and we're both working towards a common goal, and you're like, I make more than you, so I'm going to take care of the bills and then dictate to you what you can do, that's where my issue comes.
That's
Yeah,
pretty much-
I completely agree.
But I don't have a problem with him being like, oh, I'll take care of all the bills.
Well, I don't
Go for
mind
it.
that either, unless I want to live a certain way and he can't do that on his own, but he won't allow me to incorporate my salary.
It could just be like a chivalrous thing.
Which is a nice thought, but like, I mean, Kenneth, you came at us a little bit, saying our husbands was emasculated and, we wearing the pants and all that stuff. And no hard feelings, Kenneth, we love you. We're glad you're listening. But, to me, you step past chivalrous and into this is the way it's supposed to be because I'm the man and you the woman.
Well, what about this? Okay, I have a coworker. She's older, but her husband basically takes care of everything with the household. His salary pays for all the bills, everything in the household. She literally works for spending money. So whatever money she makes, she can spend on whatever she wants. So is that kind of what he's talking about? Like that type of thing?
I mean, there's some ambiguity.
We don't really know exactly.
I wish Smith were here so I could be like, so tell me about your finances so we can figure this out.
I mean, we are making a ton of assumptions because
Yeah.
the other thing could be that he's just frustrated with men who have chosen
For a woman to,
hold their weight.
or maybe
And
for a
that's-
woman
and
to
that's
take
what
care
I'm
of
saying.
them.
Right. And
Fair
so
enough.
you would have a problem with that. If the
Well-
husband is at home kicking back and the wife is going out there
Right.
and getting it.
I would.
And then, yeah.
I would have a problem with that.
Let's say he wanted to be a stay-at-home dad, which is fine because we have small children and my salary more than paid for everything. I would be like, why are you coming at me right now?
But
I'm
that's-
almost in control of the money.
Yeah, but that's if the conversation between the two of you was that, listen, I'm going to stay home and take care of the kids.
And you go to work.
Right.
You're literally talking about he's just a bum.
Basically. Like,
But we
And
wouldn't
that
be
could
together.
be, but that could be
Or
where
if,
the
like,
frustration is coming
yeah.
from with.
So
Maybe
Kenneth,
he's seeing
what you need to do is not come at us and come at your bum friends that are letting people take care of them without them trying. How about that? Shots was fired.
Maybe we could interview you, Kenneth, so we can find out exactly what you meant and
Right.
let you
We're
defend
making a lot-
yourself.
Right. We're making a lot of assumptions.
Bree is pulling out
Yeah,
the
Bree is pulling out the
boxes.
big guns.
Bree's getting fired up over
So this
here.
is why, because a lot of people look at me sideways when I tell them that my husband and I have separate finances and that we never join them and we just don't see the point in them. And, well, who pays the bills? And go, well, he has his bills and I pay my bills. Well, I mean, as a man, what? I'm just as capable as he is. We're not lacking anything. Why do I need to cut our lives back just so he can feel more important? And there have been times in our marriage where he has carried everything. There's been 2 times I can think of where I have carried everything. That's what a partnership and a marriage should be. I got your back, you got mine. It shouldn't be, well, I can't really afford this, and since I'm the man and it's my job to do it, we just not gonna have it. Damn that. Like that's,
Yeah, no, I mean, I get what you're saying.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
Which that might not even be how you're coming at us.
Right.
But it's a little ambiguous here. So, like CJ said, we are making assumptions because you're not here to clarify
Yeah.
or defend yourself. But I feel triggered. Anyway.
You don't say.
I feel triggered. All I'm saying.
Well, Kenneth, I hope somewhere
in there.
in there you got the answer you were looking for.
Here is the answer. No, they're not emasculated. And we both wearing pants. How about that? That's your answer. Take
When the
that to the
pants are
bank.
cute. Sometimes.
Our pants are cute.
Yeah.
Their pants are masculine, manly pants. Cargo pockets.
For their
For
tools.
their tools. They're rugged.
we have the ruffles and the bows.
We have skinny jeans and they have loose fits, boots cut. Okay, apparently some of them do have skinny jeans also. I was just informed. I'm not gonna say who, but Although my husband did get a pair of joggers recently and they were really cute on him. So I'm like, okay, maybe we're going somewhere with this.
All right, Kenneth.
I'm just saying. Can't worry about Kenneth. Kenneth, I ain't worry about you. Just playing. We love you, Kenneth. But yes, that's
Keep
your
listening,
answer.
Kenneth.
Please keep listening, Kenneth.
Oh, I gotta do my quotes.
Kenneth threw you all over.
Kenneth the girl.
Everything.
Kenneth had me hot. You hear
All
me?
fired up.
I was. Hold up now. Kenneth got me where I lost my quote and everything. All right. Oh shoot. Hold on a second. I done lost half my quote too. This doggone thing. It don't want me to be great. Oh Lord, Kenneth. Look what you done did, Kenneth. He done messed me up.
Joys of modern technology. You can't blame that man because you.
Yes, I
You hit
can.
the wrong key.
First of all, okay, no. If he hadn't got me so excited, that's a nice word, coming at me about my husband not being a man because I pay some bills and he pays some bills, then I would have not hit the wrong button and lost my. Actually, I didn't hit the button. You hit my button, Cece. I think you did this.
So wait.
What? I think you did this. Anyways, do you see the kind of discourse you're causing with your question?
Don't blame that on Kenneth.
Kenneth, no, for real, this is Bree. We love you.
Say,
And we
Kenneth.
appreciate that you have a different viewpoint
Yes.
and opinion.
And just know
And
that Miss Cece came to bat for you for a second because
for a second, then she went back
we're
to wear the
drawing,
pants.
we're drawing gloves
Just
over
want you to know. She was only with you on your side for a second. No, I'm just kidding. But we appreciate you. Thank you for listening. And please, don't feel like you can't send us,
a rebuttal.
a rebuttal.
Please.
Or,
Mhm.
yes, we
Right.
would love
Yeah,
to
send
hear
us one, definitely.
what you have to say. I'm sure there's going to be some choice words directed my way, but that's okay. I still love you. Anywho, here is my quote. See if y'all know who it's by. Said, I want to be fluent in your love language, learning your love language. I know I don't speak your language, but I want to know more, baby.
I don't know.
I
We don't
really
know.
don't
I'll
know.
give you a hint. She's pregnant.
She's
Oh, she got a
pregnant.
lot of tattoos.
That narrows it down.
No, nobody got it.
No.
She has a song with Cardi B.
Kalani.
Hey,
Kalani.
Kalani. Yeah, she's a song called Love Language, which is so appropriate. So that's where
It
my
really
quote
is.
came from today.
Cool.
Very nice.
Nice one.
Thanks, Kalani.
Very relevant.
All right. So if you guys have questions or comments, or you want to comment on Kenneth's question, or you want to,
That's a good point.
Yeah.
If you have something else to say too, Kenneth, maybe in his defense, or maybe you want to oppose his viewpoint, you can also send that into us. Let's keep this one going. Yes, let's keep this one going.
or you want to
Part two.
share your love language with us, you can email us at 4mrsandamike@gmail.com. That's the number 4, mrsandamike@gmail.com.
And if you want to send Miss Bree a gift to show her how much you love her,
Please
I
remit
can be
payment
reached-
too.
I can be reached at P. Sherman 42 while be wasted at any time.
You can also reach out to us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at 4mrsandamike.
And let us know if your love language or finding out you and your spouses or significant others' love languages work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if it's different than you thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
And one really quick shout out, I have to give this podcast a shout out. They definitely shouted us out on their very first episode, and it is the In Opinions podcast. So shout out to you guys.
What's up, fellas?
Yeah. Keep it up. Keep up the good work. All right. So this is CJ.
To the left is CC.
It's L.
And Bree.
Bye.